St. Louis style fried rice, aka Chinaman. For the life of me, I cannot understand why St. Louis folk refer to Chinese takeout as Chinaman. Maybe it's me being a little bit bougie, but either way, the word Chinaman just doesn't sit well with my soul. So for the duration of this video, I will either be referring to this recipe as St. Louis style fried rice, STL style fried rice, or some kind of variation of that. And we're going to get straight into it. So let's talk ingredients. In no particular order, you're going to need, probably without much of a surprise, you're going to need some white rice. Preferably long grain white rice, but it can be mid-grain rice, it can be short grain rice, but make sure that it is white rice. This is where a lot of people go wrong when it comes to making fried rice in general. You do not want to use brown rice. You don't want to use any other color of rice that may be in existence. You don't want to do wild rice, brown rice, anything like that. Stick to white rice. When it comes to frying rice, white rice is going to be the best choice to go with. So that's what we're going to use, and that will be ingredient number 1. So the next ingredient is going to be some light soy sauce. Gotta have the light soy sauce. I bought this one personally from my local Asian market. For those who live in St. Louis, I will drop the address to that Asian market down in the comment section of this video. So you're going to need some light soy sauce, and you're also going to need some dark soy sauce. These two ingredients alone are pretty much the bedrock of St. Louis style fried rice. It's basically what gives it that rich taste. It also gives it that nice color that St. Louis style fried rice is known for. So you're going to need those. In addition to that, you're also going to need some chicken bouillon powder. I know this one comes as a surprise to many people when I bring it up, but good fried rice, especially here in St. Louis, has bouillon powder in it. I actually found out that this is pretty common in the majority of Asian households when it comes to frying rice. They will sprinkle a little bit of this in, and it just contributes to the overall flavor and finished product. So you definitely want to have some chicken bouillon powder. I got this one from my local Asian market too, but any brand should be able to get the job done. So you're going to need that. You will also need some oyster sauce. You can pretty much get this anywhere. You can get it from your local Asian market. You can get it from Walmart. You can get it from pretty much any major grocery store. But you're also going to need some oyster sauce. On top of that, you're going to need some salt, some sugar, some black pepper, and you will also need some MSG, monosodium glutamate. I know a lot of people are kind of scared of this one personally, but I promise you, it is going to be safe for the majority of cooking situations. It's just like any other seasoning that you would use. And when I say that, what I'm getting at is you might have a sensitivity to it, you might not. There's some people who have a sensitivity to salt, so they can't really do salt like that. And I know that might be hard to believe, but it's very much a thing. You have some people who have a sensitivity to pepper, can't really use it. You have some people who have a sensitivity to just regular old sugar, so they'll opt for like sativa or something like that. And it's no different with MSG. I'm not gonna talk too much about why this is safe for regular consumption. I actually found a video on YouTube that explains this extremely well. So rather than talk about it here on this video, I'm going to paste that one in the comment section of this video below. So I hope you would check that out. And that's pretty much it in terms of ingredients. If you want that St. Louis style fried rice taste and flavor, everything else at that point is pretty much going to be optional. So the next list of ingredients that I'm going to mention, these are optional add-ons. You do not need them, but they are pretty common with rice orders here in St. Louis, Missouri. So for my optional add-ons, I'm also going to include some boneless, skinless chicken thighs. Because a good fried rice order out here always comes with some form of protein, whether it is chicken, beef, pork, or shrimp, but there's typically some kind of protein in there. I'm going to do chicken thighs for mine. I'm also going to include some scallion or green onion, so I'll be including this as well. Most orders in St. Louis typically will have a combination of green onion and white onion. I don't like all of that personally. I just like green onions in my rice. So I'm just going to keep it like that today. So I'll be using some green onion. And you will also need, well, I ain't gonna say also because these are optional. But I'm also going to include some eggs in there as well. Just some scrambled eggs. Your average order out here can come with the majority of stuff in it. I've seen rice orders where it would include green onion, white onion, bean sprouts, eggs, and a whole bunch of other stuff, but I just like to keep things simple. So those are going to be my additional add-ons. And you will also need something to cook the rice with. For authenicity's sake, I'm going to use a rice cooker. This is the common method that a lot of people will use when it comes to cooking their rice. You can definitely do the stovetop method. There's nothing wrong with that. But the rice cooker is going to be the best way to do this. Unlike the stovetop, the rice cooker is pretty much built to get it right every time. And in professional settings, in the restaurants, when the chefs are doing multiple things, they don't exactly have the time to sit over the stove and watch rice cook in a pot. So it's just way better to have a rice cooker so that you can fill it up, flip the switch, and just walk away. So that's what I'm going to be using here today for this video. So now that we got our ingredient list out of the way, we can move on to the next phase of the video. Okay, so getting into it, we're going to start preparing everything. We're going to take our white rice and we're going to measure it out. I got my food scale right here and I got a bowl, and I want to do about 300 grams of rice. So I'm just going to pour that into my bowl right here. Going, almost there. Here we go. 300 grams right on the dot. So now that we measured out our rice, we need to take it over to the sink and we need to wash it. This is where a lot of people go wrong when it comes to making fried rice at home. They will not wash their packaged rice. Whenever you buy rice from the grocery store, it doesn't matter what brand or where you get it from, white rice has a large amount of excess of starch in it. And if you don't take the time to wash out some of that excess starch, it's going to ruin the recipe and it's going to mess up the finished product. So we're just going to go over to the sink and we're going to get this washed out. So don't have to go crazy with it. Just get a little bit of water. And get enough in there to fill it up. Don't need a lot. That's enough. And then we're just going to take our hand and just kind of massage the rice a little bit. Just like that. You don't have to do this for a super long time, but just going to get in there and massage it real good. And I'm not sure if you can see this on camera, but that water went from being real clear to having almost this milk-like consistency. I'm going to try to pour it into an empty container to get a better visual of what I'm talking about. But you'll see that water went from being clear to washing out all of that extra starch. So now our water went from being clear to being like really milky and creamy like this. You do not want this in your finished product, so please do not skip this step of washing your rice. So you wash it, pour out the starchy water, and you're going to do this process a total of 3 times. So that was 1, 2, 3. Now, you're not necessarily looking for the water to just be super clear. There's still going to be a little bit of starch in there, and we do want some starch in our fried rice. We just don't want a whole bunch of it. So that's why we're washing it out. Okay, and that's number 3. Okay, so now that we have our rice washed out, the next step is to get it into our rice cooker. If you own a rice cooker, you typically have this little graph on the inside here that will show you how to fill it up with the right amount of rice and the right amount of water. I don't follow this. I know that when it comes to fried rice, the secret rather you the secret, rather you are using a rice cooker like I'm doing, or even if you're going to do the stovetop method, the secret is to follow a 1-to-1 rice to water ratio. So however much rice you put into your pot, that's how much water you're going to want to add as well. And I typically use a food scale to kind of get those numbers. So I have my food scale right here. I just put that on there and set it back to 0. I'm going to add my rice in here. So just bam. See, I still got a lot of extra rice in there. I'm going to get something to scoop that out real quick. So, go to the cabinet, drawers. I'll just use this little rubber spatula. Just kind of scrape it out. So right here, looking at my scale, I have 357 grams of rice. So to this pot, I'm going to add 357 grams or 357 milliliters of water. So let me get that real quick. Go. And that's pretty much it. At this point, we just gotta put it into the rice cooker. Just like that. Flip. 15-25 minutes. That's gonna be done. So while that is going, I'm gonna take this time to get the rest of my ingredients together. And this is gonna go by pretty quickly. But with that being said, let's prepare the seasoning for the rice, because that's the next important part. So to an empty bowl, you get a bowl. It can be a bowl, a container, but you're gonna need something empty that you can add your contents into. So I'm gonna use a bowl. And to this bowl, I need to get my measuring cups, or should I say measuring spoons. I'm not really using cups, but I got my measuring spoons right here. And we're going to use this to prepare our seasoning mix for the rice. So with that being said, you're going to need 2 tablespoons of light soy sauce. 1 and 2. You will also need 2 tablespoons of dark soy sauce. 1 and 2. We will also need 1 tablespoon of oyster sauce. Bam. Got that. And then we're going to need a half a teaspoon of salt. So I'll get my salt. So half a teaspoon, that's a quarter. Here we go. Half a teaspoon of salt. And we're also going to need half a teaspoon of sugar. The sugar is just going to help balance out the saltiness of the rice seasoning. So I mean, soy sauce, light and dark, and that oyster sauce is pretty salty. So the sugar is just going to help balance everything out. It's definitely important. You do not want to skip the sugar. It is crucial to the recipe. And then we're going to add our MSG. Once again, I know a lot of people are afraid of MSG, but I promise you it is safe for normal cooking And in reality, you do not need a lot of it. In Asian cuisine, MSG, rather it's in the powdered, I don't want to say powdered because it's not really a powder. Rather it's in its salt form like this, or rather it's coming from like a natural food ingredient like mushrooms or something like that. MSG is pretty important when it comes to Asian cuisine. And you don't need a lot of it, especially if you're going to use it in this form. A little bit of MSG goes a long way. So I'm going to do 1/4 of a teaspoon of MSG. And we will also need 1 teaspoon of our chicken bouillon powder. And we're just going to give that a really good mix. Yeah, a good mix. And nothing fancy, just take a fork, just get in there real good. Give that a really good mix. We're going to set that to the side. The next one is going to be the eggs. I'm always terrible at this, but let's see what we do. There we go. Yes, no shit. All right, so that one, and nope, spoke too soon. There was a shell. But I got it. And do another one. Boom. I'm going to add just a little bit of salt, just like a little pinch, nothing crazy. Give this a really good whisk. Give this a really good whisk. Just get that yolk pretty well incorporated. You don't have to go crazy with it. We're going to set this off to the side. Then from here, we are going to do our green onions, or our scallion. And when it comes to green onions, you want to chop them up rather thinly. So it's important that you have a sharp knife. You don't have to go to the extreme that I did here, but this is a Japanese style sashimi blade. It's used primarily in sushi. And for most chefs, when they chop up green onions or they use them for fried rice recipes, they will typically keep the white part of the onion and they will include it in the fried rice. Me personally, I don't care for it, and most chefs out here in St. Louis don't really use it a lot. I'm going to just stick to the green part of the onion. See my cutting board moving, it's kind of dangerous, but it is what it is. We're not seeking perfectionism, I'm just a man who loves to cook and make mistakes along the way. But we got our green onion here, and just like we did with our rice seasoning and with our eggs, we are going to put this in another container. I'm going to set it off to the side. Let me get another cutting board real quick. I'll be right back. Okay, and let me get some gloves real quick. We're going to prepare our chicken. Kind of just chop them up into little cubes, just little bite-sized pieces. All right, so now that we have our chicken chopped up, I'm just going to come behind this and gently and lightly add just a little bit of salt, and I do mean just a little bit. Not a lot. Just a little sprinkle of salt. Also, tiny dash of black pepper. And I'm going light with this because the rice seasoning that we made earlier, that's pretty much going to flavor everything when you get to the cooking phase of this video. So you don't want to go crazy here with the seasonings. You just want to add a little bit and kind of just give it like a little gentle mix, little gentle massage, nothing crazy. Set that off to the side. And at this point, we're just going to play the waiting game. We got all of our ingredients ready. We're just waiting for our rice to finish cooking. Like, it's still going right now. Like I said, it's going to take 15 to 25 minutes. And I know that was quite a bit, but I promise you the cooking phase of this is going to go by really fast. And when it comes to fried rice, you want to have everything ready and on the spot, because the actual recipe itself, it really only takes a few minutes to actually cook it through. So that's why we prepared everything ahead of time. And to give a quick recap on everything that we did so far, we washed our rice out, we got it in a rice cooker, we prepared our eggs, we prepared our rice seasoning, we prepared our green onions, and we prepared our protein. So everything is pretty much ready to go with the exception of the rice. When the rice is done cooking, we're going to come back and we're going to get to the final phase of this video, which is going over the cooking process. So our rice just transitioned from its cooking state to the warm status. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that. When it's finished cooking, it is hot, so get you some oven mitts. You do not want to touch this with your bare hands. And I'm just going to gently sit this down. And I'm going to take a rice paddle. If you don't have a rice paddle, just try to use something with a flat profile similar to this. It could be like a wooden spoon. Don't use a metal spoon or a fork. But we're just going to take this paddle and we're going to gently fluff our rice, just in an effort to let out some of that excess steam. So I'm just going to scoop and slice, scoop and slice. And that's just to let out some of the extra steam. Scoop. Whoops, don't make a mess like I just did. And slice. Just like that. And I'm just gonna let this cool down for a little bit, just a couple of minutes, not too long. I don't have to let it sit out for an extended period of time, but just let it cool down a little. Let it cool down a little bit. And now we can get into the cooking portion of this video. When it comes to cooking the fried rice, you can definitely do it on the stovetop. Whether you have a gas stovetop or an electric stovetop, you can cook it on your stovetop. But what I have noticed when it comes to quality fried rice is that more often than not, it's cooked on a gas stove and it's cooked at really, really high heats. I believe the terminology that's used in Asian cuisine is wok hei, which in English that loosely translates to breath of the wok. And whenever you go to like a Chinese restaurant or any Asian restaurant, it don't necessarily have to be Chinese. But if you take a peek into the back of the kitchen, you will notice that whatever the chef is cooking, they're cooking it at really high temperatures, and they're usually cooking it in a big container, a wok. And the smokiness, the natural seasonings / oils from that wok and that high heat kind of contributes to the overall flavor of the finished product. You're not going to really be able to achieve wok on a induction style electric stove. And even with what I'm getting ready to use right now, I'm not going to necessarily achieve that level of wok that is achieved at Chinese restaurants. But this portable gas burner that I own, sorry about that, my battery died, so I just had to do a quick swap out. Where was I? Okay, yeah. So, portable gas burner gets you pretty close to that high heat cooking that's kind of necessary for fried rice. Now, when it comes to the device that you use to actually cook the rice with, you have two pathways that you can take. You can either spend the money and get you a decent cooking wok. If you don't have a wok, then your next best option is going to be using some kind of deep skillet like this one right here. This has like a non-stick cooking surface, so just make sure you use a cooking utensil that's going to be safe for this, preferably like a plastic spatula, like a plastic or a wooden spatula or something like that. But for authenticity's sake, I'm going to go with the wok personally. So let's get this recipe going, because this is gonna fly by pretty fast. Fire it up. Get that heat going. Sit my wok in there. And you're gonna need some kind of neutral cooking oil. It can be vegetable oil or canola oil. Just make sure it is a neutral cooking oil, no sesame oil or nothing like that. So I'm just gonna let this come up to heat real quick. Get my cooking utensil. And throughout this entire process, you're gonna wanna cook everything on a continuous high heat. Like, you're not gonna kill the heat or bring it down or alter it or change it. For every step of this process, we're gonna do it at a high heat. So let me get another plate, because we are gonna cook this in stages. So our wok is up to heat. I don't know if you can see it on camera, it's kind of smoking a little bit. And that's okay, that's what we wanted. Wok. That smoke is going to contribute to the overall flavor. So just add a little bit of oil and swish it around. And we're first going to go in with our eggs. So there. Going to let it soak up that oil. And this is going to cook real fast, about 30 seconds. That's about the consistency we want to go for. I'm going to set that off to the side. Come with a little bit more oil, just a little bit, because we're getting ready to cook our chicken. And the chicken thighs already have like a pretty high fat content to it. So it's going to release some natural oils into our wok anyways. Unlike our eggs, you want to give this about anywhere between 6 to 8 minutes. So I'm just gonna work this in my wok. All right, so my chicken is done. And just like I did with my eggs earlier, we're going to take that and set it off to the side. So I'm just gonna put that in my plate. Set it off to the side. I'm going to just add a little bit more oil, just a dash. There's still some oil in here from the chicken that I just got done cooking. So I don't need to add a lot. Just a tiny little dash of extra oil. Just give that a good swish. And I'm going to come with my rice that I cooked earlier. And we're going to stir fry this for about 2 to 3 minutes by itself. So I'm just going to do that here. So after about 2 to 3 minutes of stir frying, you're going to take that rice seasoning mix that we made earlier. You're just going to add it in there, just pour it in. Move quickly, and we're going to mix that into our rice. Make sure it gets really well incorporated. Alright, so after stir frying for a couple of minutes, we're just going to add everything back in. Just add that back in there. We're also going to take some of our green onions. You can use all of them. I'm just going to grab a little handful. Just like that. And we're just going to give this a good mix. For a couple more minutes. Maybe a minute. Okay, so after you stir fried it for a few more extra minutes, you're gonna kill your heat. Okay, so moment of vulnerability. This tastes fantastic, like it tastes really, really good. But I'm just gonna grab my camera here to give you a better visual. My rice, it's looking a little light-skinned. And St. Louis style fried rice is really known for that deep, rich color. I'm going to make one slight adjustment. It's not too late, we haven't ruined the recipe or anything like that. What I should have done was actually use this brand of dark soy sauce. This is Pearl River Bridge Superior Dark Soy Sauce. This is what I should have used in that seasoning mix earlier, as opposed to the other brand that I ended up using. I'm just going to add a little bit of this in here right now. And we're going to give this one more final stir fry. And we'll be finished. Roughly about 2 tablespoons like I did before. Just like that. Give it a mix. pretty much it. Just give it a quick taste test. As you can see, that rice is a lot more darker. So much better. And let's give it a quick taste test. That's it right there. I should have used this in the beginning. So yeah, in that seasoning mix that I made earlier, instead of using this brand of dark soy sauce, Kimline, you should run with the Pearl River Bridge Superior Dark Soy Sauce. You can find this at your local Asian market, and if you can't find it at your local Asian market or you don't have one, you can always order it off Amazon. Let's get this plated up and just do like a nice little presentation, and I'm going to close the video out. And we're just going to fill up our bowl like so. Alright, so once you filled up your bowl, you want to pack it in there real tightly. Now you can see I'm kind of just using my spoon to flatten it out a little bit. Oops, some of it fell out the bowl. Pack it in there real tight. And then from there, you're going to put the bowl in one hand, the plate, you're going to take it, put it on top, like so. Then flip it over. Then take it, and voila. You get like this nice little dome shape. And you can present this to your friends. Tasty, flavorful, dark, lovely, beautiful, St. Louis style fried rice. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope you got something from it. I hope that you can keep this for future reference when you decide to tackle this recipe yourself. If you have any questions or concerns or just anything in general that you'd like to ask me, or if you just need further clarification, leave all your comments at the bottom of the video. I'll be happy to get back with you. This is part 1 of 3 when it comes to this cooking series. Part 1 was doing the fried rice. Part 2, I'm going to do the takeout wings. And then part 3, I'm going to cook the both of them. I'm going to invite some of my taste testers over just to kind of get like a second opinion on this recipe. And we're just going to sit down and talk about it for a little bit. But anyways, I'm up out of here. I love you guys. And stay tuned for future videos.